Jenkins.
Here.
Mars.
Here.
Harding. Testori.
Here.
Kelly.
Here.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first thing on this evening's agenda is the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Jenkins.
Yes.
Mars.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Testori.
Yes.
Motion carried.
There being no unfinished business, we move to section 3, new business.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2016-30, $1,000 donation to the Joe Williams Post 55 2017 Boys State Program.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
This is from a request from the last council meeting. Keep in mind that this will come out of the administrative fund. And checking with personnel up at the Joe Williams Post 55, you see that this is a program that's been going on since 1935. The Joe Williams Post locally has been providing scholarships since back in the 1960s as far as some of their records go. So obviously it's a very worthwhile program here in the community.
The funds are available for it, is what we're saying.
Yes.
Okay.
They requested more than that to begin with, I think, didn't they?
That's what I'm aware of.
I took my son down there about 2 hours up there to watch the initial, introduction, and I was very impressed with the professionalism. The boys and young ladies got to meet the governor while they were there, and it was just, I think, life-changing for them. It was a great program. Any other discussion?
I think anything you do to show the youth respect for processes and the law is a good thing. We could use that. Can we send them anything, anybody we want? Just kidding.
No.
That's Mr. Chapman.
I know.
Volunteer program, and not everybody is allowed to go, so go ahead and call it.
Mars.
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
Testori.
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2016-31, Illinois Municipal League Risk Management Association minimum maximum contribution agreement 1/117 through 1/118. How much are we
And
contributing?
we need a second.
I'll second it.
Discussion.
What exactly is this for?
This is
I
our,
have no idea.
this is our property insurance. So
Okay.
if you look in the city manager's report, I put that our property is valued at nearly $28 million. So this is every swing set, this is the parks, the sewage plant, everything that we've got, it's blanket insurance.
Okay.
And we've been very fortunate that we have a very good relationship with the insurance company. We don't turn in a lot of claims, so that also helps to keep us.
So this covers the ball diamonds,
Yes.
the BMX track, the parks, the whole.
Yes,
Okay.
And it's been budgeted for.
yes, most definitely. And you see, if you do this now, then you get that 1% discount. You just will take advantage of the 1%. And it's $1,377.
Any other discussion?
No, sir.
Call it.
Kelly.
Yes.
Testori.
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
Mars.
Yes.
Motion carried.
This moves us to section 4, the other items, and we are at the city manager's report.
Well, I have a couple things going on, and one of it is intended to get some feedback. But the Maple Street sewer project is moving along pretty good. They've got over 700 feet of pipe in 19 days. That's really doing pretty good with setting manholes and taps. and working around all the utilities down there. And keep in mind that while they're doing that, they're also doing the other functions out at the sewage treatment plant. The electrical guys are helping out, so that's going pretty good. The electric department has recently began installing LED streetlights. I don't know if you've gone around and noticed that some of them are popping up. They're getting rid of the old mercury vapor lights. Those don't project a lot of light and they use a lot of energy. Mark has said that we can save up to $77 per light for each one of the mercury vapors that we install. So in just a short period of time, we'll see an energy savings on our bill from the IMEA. Also, there's been discussion, I guess at the last council meeting that I wasn't here at, there was discussion again about the detention basin out at the subdivision and how this thing was going to be finalized. Back in the spring, when I had mentioned about a plan from Farnsworth Group, we had hired Farnsworth and they went out there and they came up with a design for a concrete swell and some piping and there's some tiling. So if the water came through too fast, it would flow over the concrete swell and it would go into the series of tiles. That was one of the ideas. And if you remember correct, that we had said that the ground needed to freeze, and the thought was that, well, somebody else out there ought to have another plan. So then I sought information from Jared Boyle and Mike Necessary on how to work on this. They both came up with the same thing, to get all the growth off of there. It will naturally dry, and then a grass way through there will allow that water to gently go through and not go through at a high rate of speed, because if you put the concrete swale in there, you're in essence a straight shot onto the neighbor. And if you do cause issues with the neighbors, then you're liable for any damages, so you want to be careful doing that. But at the last meeting, all this came back up again, and it needs to be decided tonight by you folks. Do you want to spend the money and put that concrete swale in there, if that's what you think is the best, or do we want to go with Jared Boyle, who we ended up having do that work, that says that the grass waterway there is the way to slow that water down and that detention basin will work properly? I'm looking for feedback tonight, because I can't go out there and I can't sow grass in the basin. We can't move forward with the playground, because if you're going to bring heavy equipment to pour concrete, we can't do that. So we're at a standstill.
I'm opposed to the grass.
Well, if I may offer the advice of an educated
No, sir.
developer.
I thought that Boyles was supposed to regrade the ditch after all the trees were
Here's a
removed.
man
Wouldn't
that
that
had
cause,
Sir, please, we're having a meeting, thank you.
wouldn't that,
This man had done this work before.
he's not asking to speak. You are. This is our turn.
Okay.
Just a minute. I was just reading his quote, that's all I was asking about. I don't know exactly what that meant. It just says regrade the ditch after the trees are removed with a laser grade control. So would that mean that,
He's done. Jared Boyle is done. It has been, everything that was done out there was done on laser, okay? Kevin Handel is here tonight in case there's a technical question. I did ask him to come because he was part of the initial process for going out there. So,
is that grade not enough to keep the water from
This is
detaining?
Sir,
a man
please,
who
please,
lives in this
sir.
town.
Sir, I'm asking you to please, sir, I'm asking you,
He has
sir, I'm
experience.
asking you nicely, if you'd let us continue the meeting. Thank you, sir.
Well, all I'm saying is.
Sir, I'm asking
there's
you
a
if
way
you could,
for us to
I'm
save money.
asking you if you could, stop talking, please, sir. Thank you.
okay, I'm sorry,
It's
what?
okay. So when he laser graded it, does that mean that it's not sloped now, or is
No.
it just not going to at least hold where they can't mow? I don't know what the.
You have the correct grade now from the inlet to the outlet. If you go out there, it is working properly. You don't want that water going through there at a fast rate.
Right.
That's not the idea. But if you go in there now and you put this concrete swale, okay, then it's not going to be a detention basin. That water is going to go through at a high rate of speed. Now, the And keep in mind too, though, the outlets are smaller diameter pipe than the inlet. All right? It's just a matter of which avenue do you want to go with this?
I'm opposed to the grass, because in my experience, the grass, it's going to have to be maintained, it eventually erodes, and you got to do it again. So there's certainly some way to use the concrete to slow it down, to use the concrete and slow it down.
Anybody else?
Unfortunately.
Is there
Yeah,
a
not
way,
great
is there a
with
way
either
to
way.
line it and control the rate of speed in which the water flows?
The idea that the concept or the philosophy that we were working off of was that the concrete channel would essentially just be there to direct the smaller rainfall events from basically the inlet to the outlet. And like Larry's saying, the downside of that philosophy is that you're short-circuiting the purpose or the intent of the detention basin, because you're not retaining or detaining the flow. What's coming in is going out. Now the idea is that the concrete channel would really just be there for the small flows. Once you got a big enough flow, it would flow over the concrete channel. That's not going to hold it all, because it's not going to be that wide. And you've got this really big detention basin. Essentially then the idea is that you get it out into the detention basin for the bigger flows, and then the detention basin will act as it's supposed to. It's going to slow down the water, retain it, detain it, and then the under drains were going to be in there to help take that water, because essentially the slope in the bottom of that detention basin or that lagoon is, in our opinion, and according to most engineering standards, too flat. So that's why it was retaining water in the first place. That's why it was getting boggy, swampy, and all the cattails and the weeds and the debris was building up in there and growing in there. It wasn't getting out. So that's the purpose of the under drains, is to drain that soupy out and get that to the outlet for the detention. So that was the concept. Now, if you guys want to go with this other option to look to see if maybe this other approach would work, and then maybe that's option A, maybe this is option B. I think that's kind of the way I had it in my head, but that's obviously open for discussion.
You think I need to see some plans or pictures, I'm not following what you're...
You could line that waterway with oversized rock.
Right.
Oversized rock there will not be any erosion, and you will slow that water down. Because when you get all that water coming through there, you're going to have to slow it down. And I guarantee you that your neighbors, you don't want to start neighbor wars by dumping water on them at a high rate of speed, causing erosion. So.
You're talking about there's going to be a drain under the soil
There would be, yeah.
A tile?
Perforated tile or pipe, yeah.
that would drain it, and then grass on top of that.
Yes, yeah. You kind of have the fingers that go out from the perforated under drain tile.
So it will stay dry that way.
Correct. That's exactly the purpose.
Because, correct me if I'm wrong, did we promise concrete initially?
My understanding was we did have a neighbor saying that they did promise it, and then Larry and the city manager said he did not, so I don't...
There were no promises made to anybody about anything when it comes to how we were going to finish out this detention
I
basin.
think the issue, sir, is this: we want the water gone.
Absolutely.
We want it to be dry, and we don't want to revisit this again and again and again, promising the same thing over and over. We want this taken care of, and we obviously don't want to damage Walsh's property at the same time. But what's being asked of us is to make an engineering decision based when, if this was some sort of pastoral care, maybe I could come up with a quick answer. I don't know an answer to this. All I can go on is what's being recommended, and then I get a recommendation one week, and then I get a recommendation the other week, and it's just like, I'm just not a very bright man. and getting somewhat confused on this.
You're saying you can put concrete on top of the grass in a small trench
Right.
to direct a small flow of water, then the rest would be grass?
Right. Think of it as kind of like a curve.
Yeah, I got
It's
it.
like a curving gutter.
I'm sorry for following you.
So
Yeah,
how wide are you talking, 2 feet, 3 feet?
probably in that neighborhood, yes, sir.
And we're talking about where all the trees and everything was removed in that
Yes.
exact area.
And you go out there where
That's
it's
the only
wet
part
now,
where we
that's
have
where
big
it would go.
concrete.
Straight water line.
How is it working, but besides that, how is it working now that they did all that west side?
How's it working now?
Yeah, so I'm just on the west side, I mean, is Wallace's property doing better, is that all that?
Well, a detention basin, we haven't affected Walsh's property at all.
No,
No,
not Wallace,
she's talking to
Wallace.
the west side
The
of the
west
Wallace
side, that
house.
west
As far as I
edge,
know.
is it working like they're staying out of that their
Yes.
yard? Because they have.
Best of my knowledge, yes.
We're moving in the
I
right
guess what I
direction.
would be looking for, sir, is not a good enough solution. I mean, even if there's a little overkill here,
Right.
you know, what is the overkill solution that makes sure that what is your overkill recommendation that makes sure that this water gets out of here, it doesn't damage somebody else's property, and we solve this problem once and for all?
I think our initial recommendation, our initial proposal in the agreement that we put before the council was the philosophy of doing the concrete channel rental, if you will, or curb, whatever you want to call it, with the under drain piping. That philosophy that we're talking about. As we got into it and we started talking to Larry, this other concept of just stripping everything off and kind of seeing if that would fix it, which should be, I would think, a cheaper cost alternative. That idea kind of came up, and we said, sure, if you guys want to try that, do that as kind of option A.
This is where I'm having some problems. See if it'll work, we'll try it, and
I think our recommendation is still to do what we were recommending.
The concrete curbing and the under drains.
Yes.
That's what you're recommending.
Yeah.
That sounds good to me.
that sounds like, I would prefer that.
Okay, so we can,
So you ask any of the further ridge subdivision people, at least what they think, are they here? I mean, they could enough to come here. Mr.
Sir,
Schroeder?
your thoughts as a representative of the
Now that
city?
you've heard it all,
The concrete's a good idea. I mean, as I told you before, that entire ditch is being fed by field tile too.
right.
And right now, it doesn't drain. I mean, there's standing water out there, there's cattails out there 2 foot tall out there now. Yeah, I mean, the grass is just gonna erode away because it's constantly.
So the
you need
curbing,
something
does that help?
Stable
Does it-
underneath of it to hold it so it doesn't erode in there. And putting in your feeler tiles, that's a good idea, because that comes in off the top, because they put a ditch from that transformer down to the other ditch, well, that's all eroded away too.
So it sounds like we're going in the right direction.
You're going in the right direction with the concrete in there. You might want to look to see if maybe to slow it down with the concrete, some way of a ditch check in there. That would slow it down.
So you have direction.
What is a ditch check?
Ditch check is basically, it tears down, slows down the flow of water as it goes, so it really doesn't go out that fast.
If I can maybe
Go ahead.
try to interpret. My experience with ditch checks would be as you see work going on along the highways of the interstates where they're redoing the asphalt, redoing the grading on the ditches, a lot of times they'll put in kind of these triangular shaped obstructions in the ditch to hold the silt back so that you get the water will build up and let the water go over, but you're retaining the soil and the dirt behind it. And is that?
Yeah,
am I-
that's what I'm looking, I mean, you're worried about the concrete taking the water out too fast or whatever, and if you put some kind of a check in there that it's gonna slow the flow down.
Right.
At the other end, you're not gonna have the erosion because you're still gonna go out slower.
And I think the intent is, and that's where this particular recommendation is, it's kind of twofold. The concrete is there really to do just that. It's not meant to slow the water down.
Right.
It's meant to let the small rain event flows pass through and don't go out into the basin, into the rest of the detention basin, into the grass areas. It's meant to let it short circuit and go from the inlet to the outlet. and not slow down. If you slow it down, it's going to back up, and then it's going to go out of that little 2 or 3 foot concrete channel. It's going to go out into the grass. Because what's happening is the way it's doing it now is it's too flat, and it is slowing the water down too much. So it's ponding, and it's making little beaches and little mounds, and so then it's causing it to build up and sediment to form in areas here and over here, and it's creating its own little channels. And because it's so flat, it's just boggy swamp soup, because it's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
It's got all this water coming to it, and it's got nowhere to go.
Very good.
And it's very little getting out. So we're doing the short circuit with the concrete, but then the under drain piping is meant to, when you get the larger flows and it does back up into those grassy areas, and the detention basin is supposed to be acting like it should, then those would allow the water to seep down in through the ground 12 or 18 inches, however deep they are, to those perforated under drain pipes, and then it collects it and takes it away to the outlet.
How far do those legs go out?
That's something we were working through, but we kind of went on hold when this other option came up. So we'll still have to.
Is it still possible? I mean, I know there's some broken tile up, at the southwest corner out
That's
there.
an outlet, that's not a broken tile. That's an outlet from the
Right.
stormwater drains coming off of George Rock.
Okay.
That's not a broken tile.
By the transformer?
Yes. If you look, that's an outlet pipe. You'll see that it's
So with a
flared outlet pipe.
With a tile, we can basically direct that down toward the ditch then, right?
I'd have to look at that and see. I'm not sure if I know which one you're talking about, because there's kind of two in
So
there.
this is the request, you have to get a.
We're looking at the outlet, because there's
Well,
some
what we
issues.
would do is have him write up some specs, and then we would bid out for it.
For the next one.
Very
Sorry.
If I may, it sounds like,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wondered that.
it sounds like we have direction. We have some direction to go, so very good.
Okay. And then the last one is that sooner or later we need to be reconsidering whether we're going to do TIF 3 or not. There's some pretty serious interest from some development north of I-74, and one of the stone walls that we run into is that everybody always wants to know, well, what do you have to offer? And currently we don't have anything to offer. We need to get the TIF going again. Whether this deal falls through, and I can give more specifics on what that deal is later. Whether this deal falls through, there's always going to be somebody wanting to do something out there. We're very fortunate to have somebody so close wanting to do something, but that TIF would be instrumental because we could offer some type of an incentive.
Since I wasn't here for the beginning of this, I'm unfamiliar with what incentive are we talking about?
Well, incentives could be anything.
I mean, he's gonna make money on his business, so besides that.
That's true. But with TIF, you can offer them discounted land, you could offer them free land, you could offer them streets. Basically, it's generally towards infrastructure is what you're going to go with. So, but we don't have the funds to do that right now. But if we had a TIF, and it's going to take quite a while for that funds to build back up, as you know. So that's not going to be available for a year or two.
Now,
So you've got to get the seed going here.
discounted land and free land, that is something that we could offer without the TIF, right?
That is something that you could do right now, yes. So, it's something that you collectively need to seriously be thinking about, so you can decide if you want to move forward with that. Whether that helps you folks sitting in here as the council today, or newly seated people, you need that tool to be able to use. And keep in mind that Keith Moran said that he would provide all the assistance needed to make sure that that TIF is run properly, it runs smoothly, take out any of the hiccups. So many other communities, drive past Downs on I-74 and you're going to see what TIF is doing for them. Look over at Leroy and see what TIF is doing for them. We need it for out there along I-74. So, other than that, that's all I have to tell you.
Are there any questions to the city manager's report, or any items related to the city manager's report? Are there any non-agenda items in other business? You're shaking your head, yes?
Yeah. Whatever you want to bring up, you want to bring up the letter? You talked to them first. The animal control tasks.
I've asked, you know, I honestly don't think our police department have time to mess with dogs in town. They just don't. I don't know that we even have the proper equipment to handle something like that. So I've ran it across the lady down at Animal Control in Clinton and asked what we needed to get assistance. And she told me that we needed to go through, there was paperwork involved, I had to go through the state's attorney. I contacted the state's attorney's, the guy that he works with, and this is what Clinton uses, as is Wapella. And he said, basically, this is what we need to do. It would just have to be modified instead of Clinton of Farmer City to City of Farmer City. And that's something that we would vote on and then pass along.
And that is to utilize the
Animal control,
animal control of DeWitt County?
yes.
Did
That's
it
something that we
cost us
choose to do.
anything? I didn't know, I didn't ask that part.
I would imagine there would, I mean, there's definitely going to be a fee associated with that.
But when the incident happened with
Dog bite.
the dog bite, I was told that the Attorney General sent you a letter, Larry, sent you a letter to sign us up for the animal control.
No, I've never gotten anything from the Attorney General. You're talking about the state's attorney?
State's Attorney, it could be, yeah.
The chief of police did get something, yes.
So do we have that available to act on?
No, but since we've opened up the discussion, I sent this to Joe so Joe could look at it for legal. We had sent back a series of questions to the county to find out about the availability on weekends. Was there going to be any type of additional fees? And those questions never did get answered. So we never really knew that, in all fairness, that this was ready to be voted on by the city of Clinton or anybody else, quite frankly. We didn't know that they had gone this far. Originally, DeWitt County always provided animal control. Just lately, they've decided that they did not want to provide animal control to the city of Clinton or the city of Farmer City. So this is really something new for this year. And part of it was because they built a new animal control shelter and they need to offset the cost. So
Would this just allow them to issue
This was
deeds
just
to
the paperwork
the
that
owner
made-
and stuff?
Yes.
It sounds like it allows them to come into town and
Animal
take.
control cannot come into Farmer City and write tickets, or they can come in and deal with rabid dogs and things of that nature. They can't come write tickets for leash laws, for loose dogs,
But it sounds like
this
this
would allow
allows
them to do that.
if we alter our ordinance, is that correct, Joe? We have to have a model ordinance that goes along with this. So there's a little bit of legwork, if that's the avenue you want to go. But I think it's important to find out, what about on a Saturday when Scott has a problem with a dog or anything for after hours? And nothing in this agreement talks about after hours. There's a difference between somebody in the city of Clinton having a problem with a dog and somebody 18 miles down the road having a problem with a
Well, I
dog.
don't know about since they've not come to town, but I know my dog's been picked up by Second Chance. I've had to go bail him out of doggy jail, so. Apparently I was too early on it.
I do know from talking to her that, you know, if you have coons or cats or whatever, she was going to charge a deposit on traps. They aren't going to come up here for that. So unless they get an agreement of some sort, they're not even remotely interested. She will, you know, with a deposit, give you a live trap. And here you go. So, I mean, I just don't think that we have the means to handle something like this. Rabid dog, do we have equipment for that?
No,
That's
we've
just
not been
something-
I keep
trained.
seeing a post about this certain dog that keeps getting loose and is kind of a menace.
And you know, if
Which neighborhood that's in?
this dog gets
Not
out
mine.
and they
It's
charge
not
them
mine.
$100 every time their dog gets out and they have to go down and bail them out, eventually, I would hope that their pocketbook would say, hey, I need to get this problem fixed.
It occurred to me, just,
I don't think anybody has an issue with it. We just didn't know that this agreement had been finalized by the city of Clinton. There was a lack of communication.
I just got
within
it.
this.
How long will it take to finalize this for us so we can vote on it? Can we vote on it tonight?
No.
Well, this would
This
have
is
to
city
be,
of Clinton.
we would have to pass an ordinance, and then the county board would have to decide whether they would even want to enter into the agreement with the city of Parma City. So if you look at page 2, that's where your county board votes on it.
Yeah.
So it's not something that,
I know the animal control lady is interested because that's what she told me.
Maybe we can put on it for December and get some more info by next time and know a little bit more for sometime in December.
I would say make it ready, make it work and get it ready to vote on for next time.
After we have to have more info before we can vote on it too, right?
we can try to have enough information and have an ordinance ready to go for the next council meeting. Now, keep in mind, I said try, because there has to be some communication to
The other
get some of
side.
that.
They're hard to get a hold of down there, I can tell you that. I do have the guys, and it's on the back of somebody's.
I got it right there. Hey,
So that's.
Large done.
I know, Mark.
Okay.
So we have direction to pursue an agreement with DeWitt County Animal Control. Very good. And to pursue an ordinance at the next city council meeting. Other non-agenda items, other business.
You want to cover this letter? There was a letter delivered to Scott Kelly asking for action. You want me to read this, or? She wants to know if we can put information on our city, on our utility bills, informative stuff.
City cleanup dates, brush pickup,
Yeah, plant based brush
flushing
pickup.
schedules.
Burn ordinances, top 10 ordinances, helpful information people may not know.
You know, they don't all have to appear on every bill. They put a line on one bill or something.
Yeah, I don't know how much room there is. It might have to be like a separate flyer. I don't think it's something that we can put directly on the utility bill.
It's even been suggested that they put it in the Farmer City Community Guide. You know, they hand those out, everybody gets one. Not everybody reads the newspaper or gets online and reads the ordinances.
So you're talking in that community guide, like 2 or 3 pages of the top 10 ordinances, or what would you do with that? You
I'd have to
know,
ask her about that one a little bit.
And-
That's a tough one.
on the, and so many people nowadays do have internet, and that we try to put a lot of that information out there and keep people abreast of when we're flushing hydrants and that.
I'm still seeing people burn leaves on the street side though.
Yeah.
Can we do like a postcard in the electric envelope? No.
Yeah, we could just, something else, it wouldn't change the postage rate. So,
Quarterly.
It was just a suggestion.
I thought it was a good
does that
suggestion.
run through the sealer? Or is it?
I mean, some of the stuff like hydrant flushing and cleanup dates, that wouldn't take a lot.
And a lot of that information, you know, we report it here, it goes out on Facebook, the press is here, it goes in the press. I mean, we put a lot of that information out. I would think that word of mouth, that gets around pretty good. You're never going to hit everybody. There's always going to be somebody that didn't realize you were flushing hydrants or something, but I thought we were doing a pretty good job of trying to disseminate that information, so.
We are. She actually specifically said, though, that, you know, some people don't do Facebook or get
Sure.
the paper. It's, you know, it's a valid point to bring up. Just throw it out. If there's a better suggestion, or maybe we can print it just on the back side of the bill, and then it's just print.
We'll see what we can do to,
Okay.
as a, make a
I'll be able to
flyer
mention it at least.
once a month. Unfortunately, some of it's going to be, you know, might be dated by the time they get it.
But that's okay.
Any other non-agenda
We'll
items?
even throw them out there in the disconnect notices, so you get it twice.
Any other non-agenda items, other business?
Just point at me.
Good, I took
Because you brought the first one up, I get the last one.
Yes, your turn.
My horoscope said that public speaking today was not a good idea, so I just want to warn you guys about this. So we thought Jerry, that we should address this wonderful front page article that we have here and clean up and figure out the ordinance thing. It kind of goes in full circle, so it's kind of confusing. I know you laid it out as best you could, I realize that, but it was just a lot to read at once. So, how do we go about adjusting it, fixing it the way that it was apparently laid out the last time, so it works the way that it was intended? And protects us, protects Larry, covers everybody's...
Wait, what was intended?
It sounds like... the top one. The 2012 one. Purchases in excess of $3,500 and less than 10 shall be made by the city council with presentation of 3 quotes. Correct? That was the last one. See, even he's not sure.
Which one is that, 905?
That was it was amended on that day.
Or since you're the guy writing checks, why don't you tell us how it works?
Well, the ordinance was dated, or updated, and I believe that the last one is 905. 905 says that the city manager, with 2 quotes, can spend up to $19,999, okay? You have to stay under $20,000. $20,000 on up, then it has to come to the city council for passage. That, in essence, is the short of it. We went out, we purchased a 2010 used squad car because we couldn't afford a new one. The engine quit in it. The car was $9,857.
And I'm not actually even arguing, none of the rest of it, I just thought if we could...
But I'm just going to explain it, okay? And so we purchased a used car after seeking some bids, and then the remainder of the money was for title transfer and the equipment, so when that car arrived, you could get in it and it was ready to go down the road. The radios were installed, the decals, it was turnkey, well under the 1999. So, but that is the intent of that. That was changed back because we had so much stuff going on. We brought in a new water superintendent. We were trying to make improvements at the water treatment plant, at the wastewater treatment plant, and we were having to wait to get everything approved when, for under that, let's say that 1999, we could go ahead and get this stuff done. That was why that was updated. So
it's tougher to get the job done under 10 in an efficient time. Okay.
it was getting to where, water meters and stuff, the way it was broke down, you couldn't buy a couple cases of water meters and stuff. I mean, you were making it difficult to have a smooth business operation going on. Because everything had to come before the council for approval, so.
I'm not familiar with this. So if something comes up, like when that pump went out, and you let us know, but you didn't have to let us know because you were under your thing to do it, and it was paid for by insurance. If something like that comes up, can you do that, or do you have to wait until the next meeting?
What I did with that one was because of the nature of it, and I think that one actually was over the dollar limit. But we knew the insurance was covering it. However, we needed to get that thing ordered. I had conversed with Joe, and Joe's like, under a declaration of emergency because of public safety, let's face it, it was a wastewater pump. We knew what that was going to be used for, and so then that was made. There is a provision in the statute that allows that to happen. But I informed you folks of that because it was over my legal dollar limit.
If it hadn't been an emergency, would we have had to wait until the next council meeting, or would you have had to get replies from us to do it? Just replies?
I'd have had to wait till the meeting.
Okay. Are you able to call meetings for things like that with a
I think it would
2-day notice?
I think it would depend on the severity of what the item is, what the issue is, and the dollar amount.
Okay.
The problem I'm having is nobody's questioning water meters. But when the new electric truck showed up, that gave us a black eye. The new squad car showed up, that gave us a black eye.
Well, a new
And
electric
there's a city car you're driving around.
Somebody
that
is
put in service.
questioning, sir.
Sir, if I may, we're having a
Somebody
meeting right now.
is
Sir, I've
questioning
asked you, sir, I'm asking you,
water
sir, right now
fees.
we're having a meeting. Thank you.
You cannot
Stop.
stop
Excuse
me
sir.
from talking.
Actually, right now I can. I'm asking you nicely if you could stop speaking. We're having a meeting, okay? There's a time for public comments and there's time not to have public comments, and right now it's not to have a public comment. So again, I'm asking you nicely if you would just stop talking so we can get along with the city business.
There
So,
is,
sir, I'm going to ask you nicely to...
there is someone questioning the water meters.
Stop. You were saying.
Yeah, the water pump I can explain to people. That was an emergency. When people say, hey, we got a squad car, how come? I can't explain that. I don't know why. We're driving around and we got, it's something if I knew in advance, I could say, hey, the engine blew up and we needed a car. But it's the total blindsiding of the council. And then we can't explain it to the people who ask us.
And then you said something about the car I drive?
Oh, yeah, so you have a car. I don't know if you could have put your car back in service as a police car or not.
Well, that's an old car. It may look nice. It's a high mileage vehicle that was taken out of service from a police department up north.
Yeah.
So I don't know that you're going to want to take a car that's already got 120,000 miles on it and now put it back in service every day as a police car. I don't think that's good judgment. So.
Yeah, it may not have been. I'm just.
It's not an ad, it's just we really want to work together and be informed, and if it takes us reading an email that every day that says, I did this, we are willing to read it and take it on.
I think the biggest thing, Larry, is none of us knew, but the public came to us and said, hey, why do we have a new police car? I didn't know we even had one. So, I mean, I was blindsided with that. I'm going to be honest with you, it made me look like a dumbass because I didn't know. It'd just be nice to know ahead of time, hey, we're looking at buying a police car because we've got a problem with something. I don't have a problem with that. If we need it, we need it. I get it.
Are you still in favor of lowering this limit back to the 827?
If it's going to create issues with other purchases, I mean, it's something we need to look at.
Can we distinguish between capital gains or capital assets or the type of expenditure it is?
I think when you read the full ordinance, it does.
It's
you
gonna
get
take a lot of
more
work to
details.
try to find that. I mean, you can try anything, but I'm not certain I understood the difference between the different categories, Scott.
Well, the water pump was a must-have right now public safety issue. The squad car was, we could have done that in a week or two, and at the time, we only had 2 officers on duty anyhow. Right?
2 full-time workers?
Yes.
That is correct.
Do you think that cap would affect business on a daily, your approvals, I'm just saying the things, the spending on
You
a,
folks have the right to change it if that's what you desire to do.
Yeah.
Do I think it'll throw a monkey wrench and stuff? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And so, down the road, when the next person comes in, you're gonna, are you going to look at changing it back because they're going to tell you that this is what it needs to be at?
Well, I think that's what we're asking, Larry. Is it going to create an issue doing that? I mean, like I said, if we needed a police car, I understand. But it'd just be nice to know ahead of time so we're not blindsided. That's my biggest concern.
Yes, personally, I think that from operations of the community, it would throw a monkey wrench in it.
can we ask for more of a open book? Not report to, just open book, throw it out there.
Email would be nice.
We'd love to hear it.
We're looking, I don't care that we need to buy a case of meters. I understand we're replacing those. We need that.
That's wonderful. And we're getting things done. I'm excited.
And they're being generous. I would like to see it curtailed back to 5,000.
We're being generous.
Well, you'll shut the city down if you're going to say that
5,000.
Any purchase over 5,000 with today's economy. You've got a multi-million-dollar light plant out there. And so something happens and that you can't get a council meeting rounded up.
We'd be dealing with lots of emergent replace this, right? We don't want to do that too, we want, right? Like the pump, I mean, if something falls out and it needs,
Can we vote on an email? If an email comes out and
No.
says yea or nay?
No,
No,
No? Can't we do that?
no.
no.
that's what I was asking about before,
Yeah.
I didn't know if that would work.
So it has to be a meeting to
To have a meeting, you need to either have 48 hours advance notice, or it has to be an emergency meeting.
Let's see.
And then you still have to have a meeting where you get people here, physically here. There's no methodology to have an email vote. That doesn't work. in the state of-
Regardless, we have got to appear more fiscally responsible to the people. And I don't think we look that way.
Well, okay, and so part of this was too, folks, is that this didn't come out of the budget, so general fund didn't take a hit. I think that the general public needs to know that. This was the DUI fund, and so that's not taxpayers' dollars from that standpoint. So that is your police officers out there doing their job and making those DUI arrests, getting the suspended driver, the alcohol arrest and all that bought this car. And these funds have been used to purchase 2 other squad cars for the department as well. So, okay, so I will, with the camera rolling, I will apologize for not telling you folks in advance. But also keep in mind that the budget didn't take a hit, okay?
We understand that.
Yeah.
The budget did not take a hit, and I think everybody, Scott, I appreciate that you understand that. I think everybody needs to understand that, because I don't think that was out there in the community very well.
Sure. Well, we didn't know that either.
But
I mean,
on that real quick, and the general public needs to know. Agreed. The issue is that the access to the general public a lot of time is the city council. And as soon as they see a new car, and the police department right now is under a microscope, and everything that they do, I mean, it's just gaining everybody's attention. And every time there's a new vehicle, there's those questions out there. So do you agree that the general public needs to know that's the information that the city council needs to know ASAP? Because we know those questions are coming. It happens every single time. I don't think we need a resolution or an ordinance or anything like that. I just think that it would be good business to let the city council know if we're going to have a purchase like that, so that they would be able to answer those particular questions. And I think that everybody's agreement, even the city manager right now, that in the future we'll get those emails if they're going to occur. Just let us know, hey, we had to do this. So if they're questioned, or if you're questioned, here's what happened. So I personally don't believe that we need to lower the 20,000 and keep the 20,000 as of right now, unless the city council decides different. I do want to ask and kind of change focus. The ordinances right now, they need to be updated, correct? What's the expense in doing that?
$6,000, I think, was the estimate we talked about,
Well,
to have them redone, wasn't it, or something like that?
Joe, yes, sir.
Mayor, if I may ask, I'm not certain how the ordinances need to be updated, quite frankly. I
Our
guess,
codification book, Joe,
Okay.
is so far out of whack.
yes,
And
yeah.
when we had it done last year, or it wasn't last year, it was a couple years ago, they really didn't. I think what we need to do is to research and come up with a better firm. So many people, theirs are online now, and Hayworth, and we've talked about this before, but I'm thinking that you're probably looking at closer to 10,000, because you're basically going to start from scratch. Now, in order to do that, then, we have to be a little bit more lenient on some of our donations that we do, because
I understand that, but when, a question arises, I go to the ordinance book that I have right now, and then if it's off, I get pissed. It's been changed, and
It's not been updated for 4 years.
yeah, and it is.
and not every ordinance would go in there, of course, so.
I think that we need to at least start looking at especially before the next year's budget, because we can put it in next year's budget. I know what you're saying. Well, if we did it right away, we'd have to worry about, our donations, but it doesn't mean we can't look into next year's budget and getting this taken care of.
That's our first responsibility.
It is.
The other stuff is crazy. It's going out to dinner.
This city council is strictly legislative. We voted on a city manager form of government. You are the city manager. You are, you are the manager of the city. All we have is the legislative and the ordinances and rules to go to. Of course, we have access to Joe, but we make our decisions based on that. And we really need, updated information. So I think that unless the council disagrees, that we really need to have this looked at on next year's budget on having the ordinances done. And I love the idea of an internet, accessing it on the internet, because those, I would imagine, would be, once you have that in place, it would be easier to make the changes. So once you make that initial payment. So any other non-agenda items or other business?
Yes, one other thing.
Yes,
One
sir.
other thing. I talked to John Carter, and he was responsible to his council tonight, but he said he would come in anytime this next week, and we informally talked that we would be open to a special meeting to hear him. So, can you arrange to have him come in sometime this next week?
Yeah. I guess in what format? At a council meeting?
It would obviously have to be an executive session, and he's agreed that that would be the best way to go about it.
Well, I'm not certain it should be an executive session either.
Yeah, that looks.
I'm happy to take whatever comes in open session. That's up to you.
Well, I don't think it should necessarily be an open session either, quite frankly. And quite frankly, I've asked the Chief Carter for a copy of his report so I can review it for issues of privacy concern, because I have no idea what's going to be in that. And I think it's appropriate that I take a look at it, simply say, okay, is this something that is appropriate for an open session of a council meeting, or is it appropriate for an executive session of a council meeting, or neither one? Because I have no idea what it will or won't say.
We were talking about personnel stuff, possibly.
There's only one person he mentions by name in the report, according to him.
But
That
all
would-
of
that
that
would be
has
the
to be,
chief.
my boss can't tell you anything that was said in a
Scott.
private meeting either, so it's very,
You need to be careful on that,
Yeah.
number one. And number two, you want to launch into an executive session or not an executive session, but an emergency meeting without, why don't we just let's get the report. If we can see the report, and if it is necessary to have an emergency meeting or an additional meeting, then we will do that. But I don't think that we need to jump into, let's rush to meet when there's nothing there. If it was an emergency, why didn't we get the report this last week, or when it was due in October? So now let's rush this, and we haven't had any paperwork. Just get the paperwork. That's all we're asking. Once we have the paperwork, we can make that decision. The open session or executive session is to protect everybody. So it's to protect the public. If there's things in there that shouldn't be said in an executive session, it needs to be on the open session. We need to know that so that we can give that to the public. At the same time, if there are things in there that has to be done in an executive session to protect the city council and the city as a whole, we just need to know that. So we need the report. That's all we're asking for. As is my understanding, this last weekend said the report wasn't even typed up yet, right?
I've asked for a copy.
So if it's not even typed up,
that's what I was wondering. What did he tell you, Joe?
It's not typed up, is the last
Is
time.
it
That's the only thing he said? Because he told Scotty he wouldn't give it to him ahead of time. That's just Scotty.
All right, I will touch base with him, but I don't want to drag this out any further.
well, I don't either, but I'm just questioning the professionalism and everything right now. I have to. He's the chief of police. You should know that there are certain things that you just can't do. You just know that a report's there. I'm just going to come and talk about it. Then there's nothing to base off of it. Is it just arbitrary thoughts? We need a report. And once we have the report, we'll make sure that what can be brought into the open is brought into the open. What must remain in executive session is done in that. But until I get the report, I don't even want to consider a special meeting.
So are we going to allow the city attorney, since he's already communicated with him, to review it, and then at a later date, then we'll meet? Or
At that same time, would there be any information that the city council can't see?
I have no idea. Again, I have no idea whether...
Is it possible that there is information out there that the city council should not be privileged to?
Anything is possible.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you, why wouldn't the city council be privileged to everything in the city?
Well, that would be my thought. I don't understand why
Because I don't understand why you would not want us to see certain things in the city.
I just asked the question. I didn't say that I didn't.
Are you talking about this audit?
I'm talking about this audit, I'm talking about personnel records, I'm talking about everything that happens within the city. There should be nothing hidden from the council in the city.
No, that's not true. That's not true. We need to differentiate between legislative function and administrative function. This group here is a legislative function, and that's different from the administrative function. So it is not true that the city council should be privy to every piece of knowledge and information in the entire city. That is simply not true.
Reprimands and stuff are none of my business. That would be my opinion. None of my business, reprimands and things I've
Well, I'd
seen.
like to see this report in a timely fashion, at least.
Especially
give
he's
it
got
to
us built
Joe.
up about it, it's like, read it.
One way thing
Read
is,
it.
it wasn't prepared, so we haven't put it off. The city has not.
I understand, it's not an issue with us.
Right. I don't have
We're just waiting on him.
Yeah, and I don't have it. And he said he'd give it to me, and I'm sure he will.
Good,
And,
we got someone at least who's willing to give it to.
yeah.
Hey Joe, will you share it with us?
No, I will not. I'm going to read it to see, should it be in private, should it be in an open session? I'm not going to edit it, I'm not going to revise it, that's not my role. My role is just to see, okay, where should this be discussed? And that's it.
Fair enough.
So I'm assuming he would be at the next council meeting.
We will invite him to the next council meeting.
Yes, I thought it was going to be done last month, but
Quite glad about that.
obviously as soon as the
Last
report,
month it wasn't, I don't know.
It's all right.
I've gone between it wasn't typed up to Joe hasn't reviewed it yet, to we don't need to know what's in it. I don't know where we're at.
Well, I asked the chief, Carter of Monticello, if he would send me a copy of it before any meeting. He said to me, yes, he would. And then the next thing I heard from him many days later was, I don't have it ready for you yet, it's not typed up. I said, okay, great, just get it to me whenever you are willing to share it with me. Until then, it's in his court.
Professionalism on.
I have an email that said that he has to be at the city meeting tonight to discuss his budget.
Yeah, tonight was his budget.
So,
I haven't, nobody has tried to prevent this from coming out. We want it to come. Although, I think I said it, and you just said it, you know, some questions about professionalism are starting to arise. They're starting to arise. I would like to have the actual report, and then we can go from there. So, and if the report comes in, and then, you know, this is, everybody gets it, and then the city council says, holy cow, we need to meet right away, then that's something that we can do, but we need to have the report in our hands before we do that. Here, we want to rush, and there's no guarantee he's going to have the thing typed up. So, I think that's it. Is there any other new or other business?
That's all I got.
Christmas decorations, when are they going up? Are they going to be, they'll be at the Christmas parade and
We
what?
started some of that already.
Have you done
already
it?
started?
poles have been wrapped. We went and bought some additional lights for the poles, so they started working on them last Thursday, I believe. And then as far as the garland and that, they'll be getting that up right away, so. And get the Christmas Santa Claus house moved in.
Okay. Scott, the Halloween thing, I just want to publicly say, I went there, I thought it was absolutely awesome. You and your group did a fantastic job, and I encourage you to continue that.
Yeah.
Very good, thank you, sir. Other than that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Story,
Yes.
Jenkins.
Yes.
Morris. Yes. Kelly.
Yes.
Motion carried.